Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy Yule, and I hope you're having a great Midinvarne event. So this is Monster Week 5, where we are dealing with Ice Elementa. So we're going to have a look into the lore behind the name that the Witcher universe has given to this event, which is the celebration around the winter solstice, Midinvarne. And we're going to obviously have a look at the time tasks as well and give you some tips on how to complete those. So we'll check that out. Alright, so I always really enjoy looking into the lore behind the events that pop up within within the Witcher series of games. So there's only been a couple that I've looked at so far, but it's given me more of an idea and appreciation for where certain public holidays have come from. I think the last one we looked at in detail was the holiday in May. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was Bellatine, and that was to do with the Maypole and the celebrations around fertility and things like that then. But this time we're looking at Midinvarne, which is my pronunciation of the word. Hopefully it's roughly correct. And this is to do with the celebrations, again, majority pagan rituals or pagan-based or derived celebrations. So midwinter, or Midinvarne, the winter solstice, is celebrated as part of the Elven year within the Witcher series. Being the longest night of the year, it is considered to be infused with magic. It marks the beginning of the second Sveidd Yule. So heavily tied to Yule. We've got a bit more info if we look up Rites of Midinvarne, which is actually a book in the Witcher 2. So after Midinvarne or midwinter, the day of the winter solstice, the days grow longer. According to the elves, Midinvarne marks the beginning of a new cycle. The sun gradually gains power, and all things beneath it are born once again. Winter shrines erected on this day celebrate the revival of life and light, but also honor the winter, as death and resurrection are two sides of the same coin. Magic connected to death and cold are particularly strong near the winter shrines, and witches can use them to prolong frost and destroy crop. Even witches bow before the shrines to honor winter and increase the intensity of their signs. So I would have loved to have seen this tied in if we had like slightly more powerful signs in the game for this event, but that wasn't to be. It's fine. It just would have been a really cool tie-in for anyone who was looking up things like this in the lore. But they have tied it in with the stronger frost magic, so that's why the ice elemental or ice elementa are appearing more often in the right weather conditions, but we'll get to that in a minute. So it is cool that they've tied that in, and we've got a really appropriate monster for this time of year. If we look up the actual pagan beginnings of this holiday, we come up with the winter solstice. The pagan celebration of winter solstice, also known as Yule, is one of the oldest winter celebrations in the world. Ancient people were hunters and spent most of their time outdoors. The seasons and weather played a very important part in their lives. Because of this, many ancient people had a great reverence for and even worshipped the sun. The Norsemen of northern Europe saw the sun as a wheel that changed the seasons. It was from the word for this wheel, hul, that the word Yule is thought to have come. At midwinter, the Norsemen lit bonfires, told stories, and drank sweet ale. I'm going to skip the Roman part because that doesn't seem to have as much to do with it as everything else. The winter solstice falls on the shortest day of the year, the 21st of December, and was celebrated in Britain long before the arrival of Christianity. The Druids, Celtic priests, would cut the mistletoe that grew on the oak tree and give it as a blessing. Oaks were seen as sacred, and the winter fruit of the mistletoe was a symbol of life in the dark winter months. Obviously, being one of the few berries or fruits that actually grow within winter, I can completely understand that. It was also the Druids who began the tradition of the Yule log. The Celts thought that the sun stood still for 12 days in the middle of winter, and during this time a log was lit to conquer the darkness, banish evil spirits, and bring luck for the coming year. Many of these customs are still followed today, and they have been incorporated into the Christian and secular celebrations of Christmas. So I really enjoy finding out about older rituals that are the basis for what we celebrate today, and it's always really interesting. But let's move on to the timed tasks that we will be looking at for this week. Okay, so before we start reading anything, I just want to let you know that I have also been plagued by all of the login issues that we've been having at least over the last couple of days. So that was Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, and even it's been not quite as bad, but still problematic today on Boxing Day. So I've found that the best way to actually still get into the game is literally just keep retrying. That might cause more problems for everyone overall if everyone does that, but I don't think there are that many of you that are watching these videos, so we're not going to cause a huge problem overall. But I've just either give up and leave it for a few minutes or half an hour or an hour and come back to it, or I just keep pressing the retry button if I'm really trying to get in to do something. And eventually it gets past that communicating with server bit, and once you're past that, it should load as normal. In fact, it actually seems to have loaded the game quite a bit quicker for me once we've gotten past that bit now, which is strange, but anyway, that's how it is. So let's have a quick look at our time tasks and the information for this week. So we'll just read about their celebration here. Let's celebrate Midinvarne. Witcher, let's celebrate this holiday season with the Midinvarne event. Start now and enjoy this snow-filled time in the Witcher Monster Slayer till January 4th at 12 p.m. CET. This week, hunt down and complete the dedicated time tasks regarding ice elementals. I think that should probably say involving ice elementals or something else. Finish all of them to get the Incandescent Heart, the perfect sword for fighting Ogrids. It will be helpful when challenging the ice trolls and ice giants that will emerge from their lairs during the second week of Midinvarne. During the event, standard packages to and from your friends will change to presents filled with snowballs, a new snowy weapon, and sweets such as gingerbread, cookies, hot chocolate, and poppy seed cake, all of which we're going to have a look at in a minute. Each of them adding gameplay boosts. All of these time-limited items will stay in your inventory after the event ends, so this is something that we're going to be able to keep longer term if we want, but we probably won't be able to get them post this event, so stock up if you find that they're going to be useful for you. Also, check out the special time-limited offers from Thorstein and find holiday sets that will help you fight ice ogrids during the festive time. Happy Midinvarne. Alright, so let's start looking at the time tasks first, and then we'll talk through everything else. Right, so I've actually done quite well, and I'll explain where I managed to do all of these bits, as well as watching through the normal videos that we will when we do that. So, first off, kill 5 Ice Elementa. Now, to do this, you have to find the Ice Elementa. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. The first way is to pray for rain, because this event has boosted Ice Elementa, but I did not see any outside of rainy conditions. But when there were rainy conditions, there were plenty, and I actually finished placing all of the legendary monsters in my bestiary. So I completed stage 1, which to be fair I'd already done because you only have to find 1. I finished stage 2, which was 2, and I finished stage 3, which was 6. So I've caught at least 9 of them during this event, but again, it was only during rainy weather. So if it's raining outside and you notice it, pop open your game and go hunt for these. Now, there is a second way to potentially get these. Now, I haven't tried this yet, but if you're completely struggling, I would suggest that this is a worthwhile endeavor. So if we pop to our shop and see Thorstein, he's got a Midinvarne set, which gives you some snowballs, some gingerbread cookies, and some of all of the new things, as well as the elemental oil that you need for fighting the monsters, which is exactly as much elemental oil as you need to use, that it's asking you to use in the quests. But we've also got this elemental summoning scroll, which summons 1 rare or legendary elemental. Now, if you happen to be lucky enough to get the legendary elemental, you've got quite a good chance of getting the ice troll. So if you're struggling to complete this event, it is potentially worth your while, and I'm going to say it would be very much worth your while to utilize these scrolls. Now, that is in part due to the reward that we're going to be getting once we've actually finished this. So this sword that we're going to be getting, the Incandescent Heart, is basically the steel version of Melith. Now, if you've been watching a lot of my videos, you notice that I use Melith a lot because it is very, very useful in what it does. It is one of the highest DPS weapons in the game, but Melith is obviously the silver version, and we were missing until now a steel version. So that is what you're going to be getting. Now, when I originally purchased Melith, it was worth 7,000 in-game coins. Now, if you look at what we're getting for finishing these time tasks, we're getting the Incandescent Heart, which I'm not sure the price of Melith now. I think it actually has gone down a bit, but let's just throw it out there and say, even if it was worth half, it's worth 3,500 coins. You're also getting 300 gold coins and one of the current festive crafting pots, which will speed up your potion making or oil making or bomb making or whatever you put in it. So that is quite a lot of value of gold in here. So if you've got the gold to hand and you're struggling to find, you know what, it's raining right now in game, and contrary to what I've said, there are not any ice elementals around here. However, I am out in the middle of nowhere now, and it has only just started raining. So if we leave this for a bit, we might see some ice elementals, but rain is your best bet to find the ice elementals. Moving on, we were talking about the scroll. So even if you need to purchase, wherever it's gone, 10 of these scrolls to get the event done, it's probably still very much worth your money, because this sword, if it comes into the shop, I'm going to be suggesting that it's going to be worth at least 3,500 gold, and if you buy 10 of these, it's worth 3,600 gold. If you've got that, then you're getting the monsters as well, you're getting the rest of the task completed, and it just seems worthwhile. But if you're having the trouble, so maybe see if you find any elementals, and then on the last day, if you've not got enough, give these scrolls a go. Hopefully you get lucky and get the ice elementals. There are other legendary elementals that you can get from them, but hopefully you're lucky. I've not needed to use these, but if I did not have the luck of getting the ice elementals during the rainy weather, this is what I would be doing to finish the event off, because the sword is very much going to be worth it. Right, snowballs. So one of the timed tasks is to kill 50 monsters from the Elementor class. I don't need to really give you many tips on that. Gather 50 hybrid remains, same thing, it's just inventory management. Kill 10 monsters of the Elementor class while using elemental oil. I do have an example of this and I'll show it in a minute. Kill 20 monsters of the Elemental class while using snowballs. Right, let's talk about the snowballs. So there are a few ways to get snowballs. The first is in the shop. We're down here where we've got a pack for 75 gold. There is, or was, also a pack of 5 for 5 gold. Now, I purchased that immediately because it's 5 gold and it's giving you 5... Sorry, being interrupted by messages. It's 5 gold and it's giving you 5 snowballs, which is fine. I don't mind throwing away 5 gold to get that. Now, if you can't get the rest of these snowballs, again, it's spending a little bit of gold, but we're getting so much per day now, it's fine. I would recommend getting into the shop and buying the snowballs that you need to finish the event. However, this is just one way of getting snowballs. So the second way of getting snowballs, I can't remember exactly which one of these did, but I think it might have been the using 10 monsters of the elemental class while using elemental oil. Anyway, one of these gave snowballs as a reward as well. So off the bat, that's 10 snowballs, because there was 5 snowballs from that. The rest of the snowballs I've been getting from friends. So I've actually sent all the gifts, and I've got plenty of spare gifts at the moment. But sending gifts and receiving gifts is more important during this event than any other, because you're going to get snowballs and you're going to get the rest of these items, which we will have a look at now. So if I go into my inventory and my items, gingerbread cookies. So these are some of the things that you can get from either rewards from finishing the timed tasks or from gifts from your friends. So, gingerbread cookies. Increases the effectiveness of Witcher potions by 20%. This effect lasts for 10 minutes. This is the first that we've had any sort of more than one fight effect from any sort of food or anything like that. So this is a very interesting addition to the game, and I can see them potentially expanding upon this in the future with different events or different foods or things like that. So it's very interesting. We've got Poppy Seed Cake. Parrying reduces damage from hits by 10% for 10 minutes. So again, something potentially very useful if you're fighting more difficult monsters. Hot Chocolate increases the maximum vitality by 30%. This effect lasts for 10 minutes as well, so everything's lasting for 10 minutes. And somewhere down here, if I look far enough, are my snowballs. So, perfect for disrupting your opponent's attacks by slightly slowing them. Now, I don't think it does exactly what it says. Basically, it's an interrupt, just like any normal bomb would be, and the bomb does, it's effectively a bomb. So this snowball bomb does a very, very small amount of kinetic damage. I think at one point I was looking at it and it did 75 kinetic damage to something that I used it on. But don't quote me on that, because that might have been something that was weak to kinetic or something that wasn't weak to kinetic. But yeah, these snowballs are what you need to load up into your bomb slot when fighting something just like this. Here we go. We've got an elemental here. Pixie. I'm going to do this for you right now because I still need to do that. Snowball. We're going to use Melith, so it's going to be the quickest way to defeat it. And we're just going to blast through this Pixie. So, the Snowball just is basically an attack interrupt, which we don't need to destroy this Pixie, but we need to use enough of these on elementals to complete the timed task. So having done that is going to have put the counter up for my time task up by 1, and I need to do that 4 more times. So I'm still waiting on a couple of snowballs from friends, so I need some more gifts from friends to get some more snowballs. If not, again, like I said, I'll just pop into the shop and I'll buy that package of 5 snowballs for 75 gold, because again, it's really worth it to get the sword at the end. So let's check out the rest of the time task. So we got down to kill 10 monsters of the elemental class while using elemental oil. You know how to do that, you don't need my help. I just gave you an example of killing 20 monsters of the elemental class while using snowballs. It's a bomb, you just throw it like a bomb during the encounter. Kill an ice elemental in less than 30 seconds without using signs, and kill an ice elemental without performing any melee attacks. Now I've actually got some pre-recorded videos that I did while I actually had those ice elementals, and I'm going to play those for you now. Okay, so first we are going to cover the killing an ice elemental in less than 30 seconds without using signs. So we're going to load up our Dimeritium Bomb. We're going to use a Swift Potion to increase our longevity within the fight, so the overall damage that we're going to be able to do. And we're going to use a Thunderbolt Potion to increase our melee damage. And of course we're going to use an Elemental Oil, 1 because it completes our task, and 2 because it makes it easier for this. So the Dimeritium Bomb makes it weak to pretty much anything we're using, so again I'm using the Melith Sword. And you just do a normal battle, and remember not to use any signs. Very tempting because I use signs almost constantly in normal battles, but yeah, you can't use any signs. Now, that was quite easy for me because I'm, again, a reasonably powerful Witcher. However, if you're having difficulty with either of these tasks, you can of course use the hot chocolate or any of the sweets that you get as gifts or as things from this time task, like we're going to claim now. Alright, so for the second task, this is going to be defeating an ice elemental without dealing any melee damage. So I was originally considering using the Dawnbringer, but I've changed to my Manticore Steel Sword because that one is going to give us the passive cooldown reduction even though we are not going to be using the sword. It still gives us the cooldown reduction for the signs. So Dimeritium Bomb again, 1 because bomb and dealing damage, 2 because it's going to increase the damage that we're doing further by anything else. So the potions I'm going to be using, apart from, of course, the white gold potion from my Manticore armor, we're going to be using Squall because it's raining, so that's going to increase the damage doing, and Petri's Filter, which is going to increase the damage of our signs because that is one of the only damage types that we're going to be able to be using during this fight, as well as bombs. So our Dimeritium Bomb doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it does some. We are, even though we're not allowed to use melee, we are allowed to parry. So I'm not 100% sure if this is still counted if you've got the skill which allows you to do damage when you get perfect melee defenses, because I don't currently have that. It's not in my repertoire, but it is something that's an unknown. So if you do find that you fail this task because you've been defending, it could be because you are dealing melee damage as reflect damage from perfect parries. But otherwise, just make sure you don't use any melee attacks. We're using signs and bombs only to defeat it. Again, if you're finding that more difficult, you can always use some of the sweets, the hot chocolate, the poppy seed cake, or any of the other things that you're getting as rewards. I wouldn't bother with the snowballs for this one because we need the Dimeritium Bomb. It's just essential. Alright, so hopefully you're enjoying the Mid-Invane event, and hopefully these tips have helped you to do this event a bit quicker and helps you to finish it off if you were otherwise unable to. Give you some ideas and tips and tricks for how to play more efficiently, because that's what we're all about at Efficient Gaming. Alright, well, I hope you all have a lovely holiday break, and I hope that the login problems don't plague you too much. As I said, if you're having a problem, just keep trying to log in, and eventually you'll get there. But otherwise, hope you have a great time, and we'll catch you next week. See ya!